A lot of people ask questions about dealing with inflammation in the body. That's going to be addressed in our next topic here on our program, Ask Dr. McCord. So please stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm glad you could join us again on this episode of Ask Dr. McCord. And the question was, what about inflammation in the body? And actually that's a great question, because inflammation is part of the healing process that actually the body uses to restore cells that have been damaged. And it's a very, very important part. The unfortunate thing is when it becomes a chronic state. And interestingly, this came out a number of years ago, actually, that 50% of the people who died of cardiovascular disease, now heart attacks and stroke are the number 1 and 2 killers of people in the United States. Still today, cancer is pushing that, but the first and second killer is heart attacks and stroke. And interestingly, we've been on this anti-fat craze and anti-cholesterol craze for a long time, probably 30, 40 years. And what they found was 10, 15 years ago that 50% of the people that died had normal cholesterol. So it wasn't necessarily the cholesterol that was causing the problems. And what's come out since then is this condition called chronic inflammation. And so I want to address how we deal with that. Inflammation is anything that would cause redness, swelling, pain. That's usually what's involved with inflammation. And again, the problem is when it becomes a chronic state. Now, what happens is our body, because of our diet, can actually go into a chronic inflammatory state. One of the things that promotes pro-inflammation, which is not good, is what we call omega-6s. And omega-6s come from grain, anything that has grain in it, whether you're eating your oatmeal or even whole wheat bread or your pastas, pastries, those kinds of things, have a lot of grain in them. In fact, actually, most things that we eat, like salad dressings and ketchup, barbecue sauces, have high fructose corn syrup in it. So a lot of things that we eat as Americans have grain in them, and that grain actually has a tremendous amount of what we call omega-6s. And so you'll see on my board here where we're talking about the nutritional support for systemic inflammation. And this deals primarily with getting over pain that people would have. And most people that have pains or chronic pains go to the doctor and they get on all kinds of painkillers. One of them very commonly is Vicodin, which is an opioid, and about 92 million people in the United States are on some level of opioids, which has become an epidemic because it's addictive. And so here's some natural things that you can do. The first thing I want to address is this essential fatty acids, which is actually the omega-3s. Now there's actually these important fats that your body needs to be healthy, and we get a high amount of omega-6s, but we get very little omega-3s. And back 150, 200 years ago when we were hunter-gatherers, we had a 1-to-1 ratio, a 1 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. Now that ratio has actually become as high as 30-to-1. And what that does is it creates this chronic systemic inflammatory condition where if you have any kind of physical impact or stress, it can create chronic pain in your body. And so this is a great way to deal with that. And I have one of the products that I recommend. This can be a Costco product. You can probably get this anywhere, but this has a tremendous amount of omega-3s, particularly the type called EPAs, which can help your joints. And you can get this for about $25, $30 at Costco. It's by Nature's Bounty. The cool thing about this is it's filtered, because the problem with fish is they have heavy metals in there. And so it's really important. Now this 1,400 milligram capsule, but what you want to look at is the active ingredient, and that's the EPAs. And per 1 capsule in this bottle, you have 647 milligrams of EPA, which is a real key when it comes to joint pain. The next thing is what we call turmeric, and it's one of the most studied sources of nutritional support ever. And actually the active ingredient in turmeric, which is a root basically, is curcumin, and it is a natural anti-inflammatory. And I have with me a source that I actually love that comes from Okinawa over in Japan, called Ukon, and that's 600 milligrams in 5 capsules that you would take daily, and it dramatically drops inflammation in the body. By the way, too, in India they have a diet of heavy diet of curry because it's in all their food, And actually the women over there have a third less women have breast cancer than anywhere else in the world. And they attribute that to the consumption of curry or curcumin, and that's in the turmeric. It comes from the turmeric root. The next thing would be vitamin D. And we have a huge deficiency of vitamin D in our blood and in our bodies. Vitamin D really isn't a vitamin. It's actually a steroid. It's a hormone that's created in the skin when our skin gets exposed to sunlight. If we're in the sun for about 20 minutes, we can get as high as much as 20,000 international units from just exposure to the sun. But most of us aren't getting that, and especially if you live in Western Washington where we don't get very much sun at all. So I recommend supplementing your diet of about 5,000 to 20,000 international units per day. And again, another product you can get from Costco really inexpensively is vitamin D3 that helps to raise the level of vitamin D. And basically what vitamin D does is it's like an arm that reaches into the food from your digestive tract, grabs alkaline elements and pulls them back in to keep your body in an alkaline state. The next one would be a huge deficiency of magnesium because farms and soils have been farmed for so long. The magnesium is not in the soil anymore. So we're not, even if you eat really good fresh fruits and vegetables, you're not getting enough magnesium. That needs to be supplemented. Magnesium helps to relax the muscles and again can contribute to pain. It is an alkaline element. And then the next thing that's really key that we can keep talking about is proper hydration. And most people don't get enough water. You want to be drinking at least half your body weight in ounces if you're healthy. If you're not healthy and you're on medications, you want that to go up closer to even 1 ounce per pound of body weight. So hopefully these are some key things that I believe that you can do that can really address this systemic inflammatory condition in your body, helping you to live longer and stay healthier. And remember, that's what we're actually focused on here at Kent East Chiropractic. As we are aging as a culture, we're living well into our 80s, 90s, and 100s, and we want you to live healthy as well. So we want you to make sure you stay tuned to our website, Kent East Chiropractic. Make sure you're clicking on that for more information. The other thing is you want to stay tuned to or subscribe rather to our Ask Dr. McCord series on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to leave your comments below about any of the information that we're sharing on any of our episodes here. And the next one we're going to be talking about is the cervical curve and the importance of that in using a device called the posture pump. So glad to have you join us. Stay tuned for more great information on Ask Dr. McCord.